Hello, this is Angie Yingst, and you're listening to Centered, grounded conversations about the metaphysical. Hello, this is Angie Yingst, and I'm here with your Tarot and Earth Medicine reading for January 2023. Maybe I should say first, welcome to 2023. And holy crap, this is late. Everything is late right now. I've been Capricorning a little too close to the sun, as one does when the Earth is in hibernation mode and the sun is in Capricorn and everything's in retrograde. I have been busy. I've been really busy, and I've been sick, and today I'm 49 years old. And it's just a number, am I right? Or is it? Okay, life is a lot right now. I've been keeping a very strange schedule of waking up at 3:30 a.m. and then going to bed at 8:30 p.m. and then being tired from just about the time people need me until they don't need me anymore. But this is life. It's relentless and it goes by much too fast. And right now, at least in my world, every sector of my life is just a bunch of piles that I can't see the top of or the bottom of. And everything is taking 3 to 5 times longer than I estimate. So when I'm in the middle of that, I get tired and I need a nap. And then suddenly it's 2023 and it's the 4th and it's my birthday and I haven't done this reading yet. But we're all feeling like this, right? Holy crap, everything is taking really long and going by too fast. But maybe that is the best way to encapsulate what it's like to start a new year with 2 big retrogrades. Mercury's in retrograde in Capricorn starting on December 29th, 2022. Let's just jump back in our Wayback Machine to remember that time. What were you doing on December 29th, 2022? Can't remember? Me either. I don't know. It feels like forever ago. And Mars is actually still in retrograde in Gemini. It's been years, right? No, actually it hasn't. It's only been since October, but it feels like years. Now, Mercury rules communication, and because Mars is retrograde in Gemini, which is also ruled by Mercury, you know, all of these intersecting things mean we got some communication breakdowns or breakthroughs, if you want to reframe it a little bit. And while the year is kind of beginning at a slow pace or a fast pace with things going slowly at a fast pace, it may actually be quite enjoyable to just kind of surrender and go with the flow rather than charging onward into territory that is really advised to have adult supervision in. So it's time, honestly, for a review. So if you can push the big old pause button on life and just think about it before you start jumping in a new shizzle, you'll probably be okay. But let the retrogrades go direct, get on some solid footing, hibernate a little bit, you little bear. You haven't even processed 2022 yet, friends. So come on now, bro. Let's just sit for a minute. Stillness, honoring, thinking. What did you learn? Was 2022 really the year of the lovers for you? How did that happen? How did it show up for you? Did you reconnect with your partnerships and connections? Did you reconnect with other partnerships and connections? We're basically moving from the numerological tarot year of the lovers into the chariot. And that's going to take a minute because the lovers is all sunshine and champagne unless you live in the Northeast where it's gray and you're an alcoholic and can't drink. And I say that because that's kind of what it's like. It's like, oh, here's all this great stuff that you're not allowed to indulge in. So there is sunshine behind the clouds and there is champagne for someone else, just not for me. And so the universe is saying that something that you built in recent years needs a review. And before you can trek into fresh horizons, you need to tie up matters, situations, discussions, and relationships from the past. So this beginning part of January is about loose end tying up. And in that way, January is here for you, man. That's what retrogrades are great for. It's a great time to think about what you really want. Is it still a thing that you thought that you wanted? Is this something you've outgrown? This is time to get closure, revise your long-term goals and ambitions. I think January is a really great time to start to plan things with clearer eyes. So the universe is not saying start it, it's saying start to plan. So I thought everything was going to be launching for me in January. Like, woohoo! I haven't even, and I'm not done with November yet, people. I'm still in November. So the universe is asking us to embrace a slower pace, to ask other people for grace and time, and then go with the flow, okay? Because you could totally get stuck in the mud of your inked in appointments and plans and never, ever get to the place you actually want to go to. You're getting somewhere, just not where you want to go. So one of the great astrological aspects happening right now is that Jupiter, the great benefic planet and giver of all the things, expansion, miracles, surprises, happiness, joy, it moved into Aries December 20th, and it'll be there until May 16th, 2023. So in Aries, Jupiter will amplify leadership, okay? Our passions, all that fire within us, our beliefs, our power, it'll show us all those things. And so when we are in 2023, which is a year of 7, the Chariot, it aligns with this energy too. So our year of the Chariot brings this like wonderful big confidence boost with Jupiter in Aries. So it's time to create and envision a life that you actually want. Not, just like moving forward, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is exactly what I'm supposed to do. And then you go like, wait, I didn't actually want this. So it's time to gamble on you. If you're going to gamble on you. You know you. Leadership is a really important aspect of this energy, and it's going to be important for you as a leader. So Mars, another fiery energy, has been in Gemini since August 20th. Again, retrograde since October, but it's going to stay in Gemini till March 25th, 2023. That's a very long time, and part of it is because it started retrograding, and so that'll slow things down. And we're going to be in this post-shadow period because it comes out of retrograde on the 12th of January. So then you'll be able to like have this post-shadow time, which is just like another way of saying, yeah, it's just not going to get better. But fire needs oxygen to burn. And so one of the things about having Mars in Gemini is that it gives it air. It gives your Mars some air. You get some intellectual breakthroughs. You get that speaking and talking. That's going to give that some fire. It's going to be able to build up. So, we do have to look at our own shadow in terms of Mars, like looking at our anger and our tendency to headbutt. But we also get the energy to talk it out and to discuss and get that like passionate debate going. Because one of the things that is not talked about that often, but is so, so very important is that intimacy is actually built with disagreements. If you're always getting along, it's not that that's bad. That's great. That's awesome if you're always getting along. But also, many of us need to have discussions to figure out how to get our needs met. And other people can't always read our minds. So when we talk things out, when we become vulnerable by saying, this is actually what I want, this is actually what I need, this is what you're not giving me right now, and you talk it out and you negotiate, you actually end up becoming closer. So that's where intimacy is built. And as Gemini rules communication, writing, speaking, all of those things, we can actually shine here and use our Mars in Gemini to really negotiate and figure things out. So while we get heated about things very easily, we also have the gift of being able to discuss it a little bit. So, our lessons right now are how we fight for what we believe in and connect with others. So Mars retrograde is not a time to necessarily start new things or get married or open a new business or any of those things, but we can kind of surrender and like follow that current and see how we can use it to get closer instead of further away. Now, we're probably starting to feel Mercury being in retrograde. I know I was feeling it a couple weeks before it actually went retrograde. It's Mercury's in retrograde in Capricorn, and that basically means that we are better doing like more methodical and practical things than we are doing anything that is not earthy. Okay. We want logic. We want order. Any kind of miscommunication or confusion is usually because of implied messages or things that need to be read into. Like, don't read into anything. Just take everything at face value. Don't take anything personally. Become a Capricorn, okay? We need to be told. You're supposed to take this personally right now. So, you know, one of the things that's important is that we just like really get logical and not so emotional. So we will be leaving Mercury retrograde at the end of the month, and that's wonderful. I'm happy about that. So we're going to have a full moon in Cancer on the 6th of January, which is Friday. So full moons in Cancer are like often thought of to be pretty teary and emotional and nostalgic and introverted. Our feelings are kind of intensified when they're in Cancer, which they always are at this time of the year. And that's because Cancer rules like deep emotional stability and security. Like, think of the crab. It's really deep into the water, but it also has a really big shell. So we have to often push past our emotional vulnerability and just like kind of get into that place where we feel safe and at home and nest with those people that we love. So on the 20th, the sun will go into Aquarius, and there'll be a new moon on the 21st, which is also in Aquarius. And so this will be a wonderful time, this new moon, to really like set some intentions, like especially past all the retrogrades, you know. The new moon will actually help you embrace your independent nature, much like Aquarius often is. They rebel against the status quo. They don't like to be put into a box. They don't like to be held down creatively. So they really do want to connect with authenticity. And so this new moon is asking you to connect with your own authenticity. Connect with people who are in your friendship circle, your social circle, that really love you for you. Like your weirdness, if you're, you know, someone who needs, like who has a private and a personal, a public person, you need the private people, the people that love you for how weird you are. So, another thing, Uranus is in Taurus. It turns direct on the 22nd. It has been retrograde since August 24th, 2022. And basically, Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. And it will be in Taurus until July 2025. Okay? Then it's going to move into Gemini. Then it'll go back to Taurus. One of the things is that this is a time to kind of set the stage, the grounding stage for what's going to happen next, because Taurus is a fixed earth sign, meaning that it is stable and all of those kind of things. Well, if you have Uranus and that, you're not going to have a ton of like revolution and liberation work that's going to be sticking, you know, because it like Taurus likes to stay where it is. But when it moves into Gemini in 2025, you're going to really start to see massive transformation, change, crisis, that whole interaction with freedom. Okay. So why am I telling you that now, since that's 2 years from now? So things that Taurus rules are going to be affected in 2025. Okay. 2025, 2026, because what's going to happen in 2025, it'll move into Gemini, and then it'll go retrograde and go back to Taurus, and then it'll go back to Gemini, and it won't go back into Taurus for 84 years. So what we want to do is just make sure we're preparing for the future. You know, Taurus is great with money. Taurus is great with stability. Taurus is great for planting those seeds. So start thinking about How can you not prepare for the apocalypse, but prepare for your own personal apocalypse? Like, what if a tree falls on your house? You know what I mean? Do you have enough money to get a tree off of your house? Those are the kind of things we have to think about right now with Taurus and with Uranus and Taurus. I don't mean today. I mean, thinking about when it goes direct on after January 22nd, how is it that you can store some money? How is it that you can store some things? How is it that you can make your nest very comfy? You know, how can you do all those Taurus things throughout the next 3 years, 2 years, to start preparing in case anything feels like a tower moment for you? Like I shared earlier, the card of the year based on the numerology and the major arcana is the Chariot. We're in a 7 year. So it's really interesting the energy a Chariot year will bring. And by interesting, I mean, this is 2023. The Chariot's coming and your ego is his date. And they're going to get drunk and let you see how much you don't know. So enjoy it. I joke. But do I? I don't think I really do, because recently I was honored to give the Tarot and Earth Medicine reading for the 2023 Possibilities Forum hosted by Sharon Muzio and Altaview Wellness Center. And on it, I talked in depth about this. And, you know, the Chariot's a great card. It's about success. It's about conquering things and, you know, taking that ride of victory. But in the same way, it comes with its own arrogance, and that's the shadow of the Chariot. So 2023, we have to look at our own motivations for things. The Chariot comes at the end of the first 7 cards of the major arcana. Now, Rachel Pollack suggests laying out the majors this way because she sees this kind of thread moving through them. Okay, 1 to 7 on one line, then 8 to 14 on the second line, and 15 to 21 on the third line, keeping the Fool out of the sequence. What she says basically is there's 3 groupings. The first group is the consciousness. This is the outer concerns of life. The second is the subconsciousness, the inner search for identity and who we are. And the third one is the super consciousness, the development of spiritual awareness and enlightenment. So the Chariot ends the outer concerns of life section. And we are jettisoned into the subconscious or our search for identity. And so the things that we deal with in Chariot years often are like, hey, I got through that awesome thing. I'm set for life, you know? Has anybody gone through a hard thing and thought, okay, that's my bad thing of my life. I don't have anything else to worry about. And then the next thing happens. Asked Kira yet, but I would like to ask Kira to talk about the Chariot at some point. There is no mistake that this card shows the Sphinx is on the front, because for me, that for 2023 became the most important part of the Chariot story this year, because the myth of the Sphinx is integrally tied with the Oedipal search for truth and identity. And if you know the story of Oedipus, you might know him from Freud, but Oedipus basically is born like the son of a king and a queen, and the son of Jocasta, and I forget what the king's name is, Laius. And so that house in Greek mythology, Jocasta's house, is totally cursed. Like, they have all kinds of like blood curses on them because they eat their own children, and it's just they've made so many errors. So they always have something bad happen because the gods don't like that house. Okay. That's so on the like back end. You don't need to know all that. But Oedipus basically is born the son of a king, the Oracle of Delphi, who you may or may not know. The Oracle of Delphi basically predicts that he's going to kill his father and marry his mother. And so, being twisted Greek tragedies, the king and the queen go to the mountain and let's like leave him for the wolves. Of course, that doesn't happen because another king and a queen who happen to find this child and be given this child and raise him as their own. Now, they get the same prediction from the Oracle of Delphi. this son of yours is going to kill his father and marry his mother. And them thinking we're his mother and father are like, dude, no. And he goes out. He's just like, I won't do this to my family. This is horrible. And goes out and basically comes to this crossroads. And there's this arrogant dick who will not move his chariot. And so Oedipus kills him and his charioteer and leaves them for dead, and then keeps going on to Thebes. And when he's moving into Thebes, he meets the Sphinx. Now, the Sphinx is half woman, half lion, and she has this riddle that she basically terrorizes Thebes with. And it was the whole reason that Laius left Thebes to begin with, was to find someone to like beat the Sphinx. So Oedipus walks up, she tells him her riddle, which is what has one voice but walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs at night. And Oedipus rightly answers it's man, who crawls in the morning, who crawls in childhood, and then walks as an adult and uses a cane as an old man. And the Sphinx goes completely mad and jumps off a cliff and kills herself. And Oedipus is thanked by Thebes by being given the throne, because that's been vacated by the king, who went out to find somebody to beat the Sphinx and who got murdered on the road. And then because of that, they say it's only right that you marry the queen, the beautiful Jocasta. And now the prophecy is true. He's now killed his father and married his mother, because Jocasta is so upset that she didn't know what happened to her husband. She has Oedipus try to figure it out, and he puts 2 and 2 together, figures it out. She hangs herself, and he stabs his eyes out. So he's blind now, Oedipus, for the rest of his life. This is a really important part of the Greek myth here, because he was so wise to beat the Sphinx with the riddle, but he still couldn't see this most fundamental part of him. He kept trying to escape who he was by being put, in different places, but he still couldn't see this big thing happening. Okay. So all I can say is this is sort of the medicine of the chariot. It's like when you just think you're conquering something and you've got it and you're better, there's something about ourselves that we're not seeing. So there is a knowledge and strength of will and courage and bravado and accomplishment and victory that comes to us when we work with the chariot. And we can be capable and wise and conquer hard things, but there's also very big things that we have to look at for ourselves. And those things require the internal look. So, one of the things about working with a chariot year is that they're years of reckoning in terms of our identity. So even though we feel like we're on the top of our game, we also have to face some really hard truths. Now, I do want to talk about that. I did talk about it much longer than I wanted to, but at some point I will talk more about the chariot. But I want to talk about the energy and medicine of January, because that's what we're working with. And so the card I pulled is the Empress, which is the number 3 in the major arcana. She is still in that early part of the Fool's journey. And this week, when we're talking about the Empress, it's coming at this auspicious time when we're facing really inward time, when we're going through retrogrades, and we do need self-compassion and care and love. So the Empress is the embodiment of the mother archetype. She is the only pregnant figure in the tarot. She's come to represent pregnancy and birth and fertility and abundance, as well as nurturing and maternal instincts and the goddess. The heart symbol at her feet is carved with the symbol of Venus, the planet that's linked to the Empress. Venus is the ruler of 2 signs, Taurus and Libra. And one sign is earth and one sign is air. So we do see that the card represents both of those things, earth and heaven. The card presents the personal feminine and also feminine power. So Venus is the goddess of love and art and beauty, and the Empress becomes the archetype of love and art and beauty and maternal instincts and the sacred feminine mystery. She is the compassion and nurturing of Mother Earth. And the pregnant belly, like anytime we have a pregnant belly, it is the bringing together of the masculine and feminine together to create something new. And so she becomes the receiver of messages for those who are blending both of those things. Now, when we work with the Empress, we are asking ourselves, where is our safe place? And when we find that safe place, it is to nurture and embody and understand and own our creative, fertile self. So this is a month to align with the cycles of the earth, the cycles of the moon. This is a very feminine time. It asks us to tap into feminine parts of ourself, no matter what our gender is or how we identify. This feminine part of ourselves, when aligned with the moon, is really very valuable to tap into. Now, the Empress also asks us to think about, talk about, and grapple with motherhood. And it asks us to do that not just in how we are mothers, but how we mother ourselves and how we were mothered. So it doesn't just say like, oh, how are you as a mom? It's saying like, wait, how were you mothered? How are you taking care of yourself? What nurturing did you get? What nurturing didn't you get? Empress often puts us face to face with our mother wounds, not by blaming or demonizing our mother, but by the radical compassion for mother. So the Empress does not only birth babies, though she certainly can mean that in tarot readings. What she's doing is birthing projects, artwork, creative energy, new businesses. Empress times are abundant, fertile. Our spirituality sometimes ripens and nourishes us. And at the center of the Empress is comfort. So her gift and deep wells of power come from her ability to comfort and love unconditionally and radically. Okay? So the first comes from mothering the self. Where does that lead you? Has it challenged you? When are you throwing tantrums? When are you sabotaging your serenity? How can you give your thoughts healthy boundaries to thrive? And can you love your mind even when it betrays you and lies to you about your worth? And this is what it means to like embody the radicalism of self-love and self-compassion and self-acceptance, because the environment set by the Empress is one of empowerment, self-esteem, deservedness, and abundance. That flow of water is behind the Empress to show you the flow of abundance that's available to you. Now, the Empress's challenge and shadow are all about this. They're all about worth and acceptance. And what I mean by that is, what is your self-talk when you're 4 days late on a self-imposed deadline for a podcast that no one cares about? I'm just asking for a friend. But it's time to get curious about that self-talk. Okay? What is your sabotage about? Specifically, like, what ways are you talking yourself out of success? What ways are you talking to yourself? Because the shadow mother is critical, harsh, withholding of love. She's possessive. She's jealous. She's self-absorbed. She's narcissistic. It's all about me, 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 not you, 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 you. And what does that mean when we're mothering the self? It means the ego part, the part that everyone can see, is the most important. That's the self-absorbed part. So the Empress asked you when you have mommy dearested yourself, your inner child. When have you chastised yourself for small infractions? When have you abused yourself with words, with alcohol, with drugs, with food, with self-harm? And the thing is, when we talk about self-harm, we sometimes think of it just as like cutting oneself or something like that. But self-harm can be 1,000 different things. It can mean remaining in a terrible relationship. It can mean not setting good boundaries. It can mean disordered eating. It can mean expecting perfection. It can mean punishing yourself. It can mean so many things. It can mean having like one-night stands when you actually want a relationship. It just kind of... Honestly, when we talk about the shadow mother, it reminds me of this Reductress piece. Like, the Reductress is a satire, like online newspaper that it makes me laugh so much. It's like a feminist one. And it says, this was the headline: Mom who spent 25 years trying to change you doesn't understand why you're not more confident. And that's the thing. It's like we kind of talk about like, oh, here's my intention for more confidence and to believe in myself. And then what we do is spend the whole internal dialogue telling ourselves what an idiot we are. So the other part of shadow mother can be overindulging. No boundaries, no expectations, protects you from all suffering, justifies every bad move and bad play that you've had by like it being you being the victim of your life. And in the end, it makes you ill-equipped to deal with the reality of life. And both of them aren't nurturing mothers. The shadow mother of overindulgence doesn't take reality into account. It's all comfort. And it doesn't teach you how to be an adult. You're not good at adulting when you have that shadow mother that overindulges. And on the other hand, the abused shadow mother, the one that abuses you, makes you unable to trust others. So the Empress is just asking you to stop with both extremes and start mothering the human part of you. We talk about our inner child and we talk about like unconditional love, but unconditional love means like literally loving under no conditions. No matter how many mistakes. It's not just like if I do everything perfectly and if I get to bed and if I drink 8 glasses of water, then I am worthy of being loved. No, the Empress asks you to love yourself when you've gotten drunk and you're trying to stay sober. The Empress asks you to love yourself when you have made mistakes, when you are a total ass. You're still asked to love yourself. So that's the thing about the Empress. This isn't easy work. But, you know, it just isn't asking us, how is your inner child doing? It's like, how are you actually mothering her? Do you know what you're doing? And a friend recently, like, we were talking about mothering and things like that. And, you know, she said she kept feeling denied a good mother, you know, like, oh, I deserve a good mom and I deserve someone who did that. And that's true. All of that is true. But at some point, you have to make peace with the fact that you're just not going to get it unless you give it to yourself. And so the stopping the wishing for somebody else to take care of us means that we are able to mother ourselves. We just, you know what? I guess I have to be the one to stand up. And it's not fair and it's not okay. But when I mother myself, then at least I get that now. And I get to heal something in me. So, you know, the other part of the Empress is she's covered in pomegranates in her dress. And that's the symbol of Persephone and the journey to the underworld. And the pomegranate came to represent abundance and fertility and prosperity and generosity. The wheat at her feet, another symbol of abundance, is from the goddess Demeter, the mother of Persephone. So there is this also connection to the story of Demeter and Persephone. And those things are really important. When we mother ourselves, we get to like pass on that mothering. We get to pass that wisdom on. People get to see us as a model of what taking care of yourself looks like. And, you know, her crown is made of 12 stars. A lot of people think of all the stars as being like the chakras and how we balance ourselves. Behind her is that waterfall that runs that clear blue pool of emotional stability. And so we have this nurturing aspect of the Empress that runs through everything. And she calls you to nurture creative parts of you too. Again, we're not just birthing people, we're birthing all kinds of things. And her abundance is there for you. Prosperity is there for you. Creative work is always a good source of balance during Empress times. You have harmony and peace when the Empress shows up. So painting, singing, sketching, even beautifying your home, graphic design, doodling, gardening. I mean, I know it's not the time to garden, but you can have an indoor garden. Those things bring a sense of balance. So we conceive nurture in a lot of different ways. And the Empress asks you to look at everything through her lens. In the deepest roots of this card, we are pulling up nutrients of self-love, self-acceptance, and self-worth. Is it easy? No, because we have to look at the ways we've abused ourselves. So are we going to stay mired in that, or are we going to start practicing immediately self-compassion? This is what you learned. We can only know what we know, and when we know better, we do better. So this is the heart of the card, to nurture yourself so your true fruits of your dreams can be manifest. Now, our earth medicine of the month is actually like the same from December. Hematite wanted to stick around. I guess that's the same one, but hematite is very grounding and protective. It's really good to connect with Mother Earth. It's good for grounding work. It's good to put in the auric field. It's like an empath must-have. So good one to carry around. The next one I pulled is clear quartz. And clear quartz is great because it amplifies. So it kind of like enhances all of the other crystals around it. It's also very programmable. It stores information. It is just like your go-to. It is the master of all the crystals. It is, if you don't have one that's your ally, like your close, trusted friend, I would suggest getting one that can be your close, trusted friend, because they are amazing gifts for the healer and for the psychic. Citrine is our next one. That is the stone of abundance, of happiness, of empowerment, of confidence. Especially Congo citrines right now are just like, chef's kiss perfection. Clear quartz and citrine are both quartzes, so they're both silicon dioxide. Citrine has just been exposed to heat under the earth. There is fake citrine out there, so like Google heat treated versus natural to see the difference. Citrine that's natural looks like smoky almost. It's a little different color than the heat treated. So check that out. Now, the plant medicine of the month is elder. And so elderberries are really important right now as they help with immunity. They help with colds and flu and all of that. The elder tree has long been associated with magic and mystery, and those associations go back before Roman times. So the elder tree is a really interesting part of the lore, especially in Europe and in England. The word elder comes from the Anglo-Saxon word for fire, because the use of the young hollow branches were basically to start fires. And so it also was used to make different instruments and tubes and things like that because it is hollow. In England, the plant referred to as elders is not always the same plant we think of now as elder, because the name for elder in Old English was ellen. So at any rate, it's been used fairly consistently since before Roman times. And the use of elderberries have been used in herbal remedies for as long as recorded history, basically. And we, even like Hildegard von Bingen in Physica wrote about elder and said that the fruit serves us. But basically everything in the elder is used. So the bark, the flowers, the leaves, all of it has been used. The berries ripen from green to red to black, and then they're ready to harvest. And they are cut in bunches off, and then they're made sure not to have any insects and stuff. And then they're made into a syrup that is usually drank for immunity and things like that. It was used also for epilepsy. It was used at different times for cataracts and for arthritis. But right now we primarily use it for immune building as an antioxidant. I know I've made elder syrup, and I give elder to my children in little gummy forms with vitamin C and zinc to build their immunity. Now, I do have a strange animal this month, and I resisted it, I have to tell you. I was using Jessica Swift's card, and I pulled this card, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to do that. And then I pulled out The Animal Spirit by Kim Kranz and pulled the same exact animal. So I guess we are journeying this month with unicorn. Now, I don't usually journey with mythic animals, and I don't know how this is going to go, okay? The medicine for unicorn isn't something I'm familiar with because generally the medicine that we use from an animal is by watching them being animals in the real world. So we watch what they do. How do they get their food? How do they breed? Blah, 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 blah. Well, unicorn, we don't see them around anymore. But I do have to say that I was a unicorn girl. Unicorn and rainbows were my thing. So, when we're working with unicorn, what we're working with is the 6th chakra. So we're working with the 3rd eye chakra. And we'll probably be journeying into the upper world and having a very unicorn journey. And, I have to say my first circle that I ever had with women and men, I had someone whose main guide that came forward was the unicorn. And I loved hearing about their unicorn journey. So I have a feeling this is going to be an amazing journey. It's going to be surprising for me and a little out of my realm, but I think we're going to have an awesome time with it. So thanks for joining me. There's a lot that's going to change and happen, but this podcast isn't, and the things that I offer for free probably are not. So please, if you're interested in studying with me or doing deeper work, please check out my website because there's a lot there. And I will see you or talk to you next month for the February reading. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Centered with me, Angie Yingst. If you'd like to send me a question or comment about this show or any shows, you can send them to Angie@themoonandstone.com.